Hey, Terry Bean, business growth time. Today, we're going to talk about the converted 2016 event that Janet E. Johnson was at. Speaking of Janet E. Johnson, my lovely host, where today the E stands for E Fangirl. Good God, were you beaming about the people you saw? I know E Fangirl isn't a thing, but we're a fangirl for good Lord, girl. So funny. I got my selfie with him and her and them.
Yeah.
And
I had no hers, but
no hers. Yeah. You know what? Now that you say that, I had no hers.
No, I
Sure, there's a
did
thing.
last year. I did because Mari Smith was there last year.
Okay.
I did have my picture with. I would if I knew the people, but
If they were
and
big.
to be the guys that were there, I had known for years. So, yeah.
And by known, you mean like
I followed,
electronically stalked.
Yep. No, I mean, the thing is, all of them I know for years. Do I follow their content daily? No.
Oh.
Because there's so much out there, there's so much noise, but they pop up here and there, and it's been years. I mean, we're talking many, 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 many years. So to meet them for the first time after that long, and watching their videos here and there, and all that kind of stuff, it was pretty cool. So I had my mission. I always tell people I have a mission. If I have a mission to go get a picture with them, I will accomplish my mission.
Yes. Very nice.
I did.
Well, it's kind of funny, right? Because I don't get a lot of marketing type newsletters in my inbox because I don't care that much. But I get one from Chris Brogan, right? And that day that we were talking about the people you took selfies with the night before, Chris Brogan's email was about one of the guys. It was about Derek Halpern. And I was like, what are you kidding me? And so, I heard the name yesterday, and now I'm getting an email about him.
That was kind of spooky. And, I feel like there's a few things that happen for a reason. It's really kind of crazy. A few things from the event have come to flip around and affect me right after the event. So it's really been interesting. I mean, I'll get into some details on that, but I mean, it's been Derek, for instance, you just said that he had shown up in your email. I mean, that's just odd. You know what I mean? Like weird. And, it's interesting because, I may be a fan of his and I've known him, but I don't listen a ton. But it was actually his presentation. I thought, this guy makes a lot of money. He had sparkly shoes. It was kind of he's an interesting guy. I mean, but the bottom line is what he spoke about completely will change the direction of my business in 2017, 100%.
Wow. So I hope that you're going to share a point or two about that. So, you know what? We could sit there and talk about hanging out and partying and hanging around with the people for a while, but let's get to some of the stuff, right? Some of the takeaways, some of the things you learned. Again, It was Lead Page's event, right? Yep. It was in Minneapolis. It was called Converted.
Yep, and it was the hashtag was converted16. So if you want to look at anything out there, it was hashtag converted16. Lots of posts about it. If you're part of the Lead Pages group, they have a community group on Facebook. So there's a lot of things in there. And if you use Lead Pages, you should be part of that group.
And so wait, before we go too far, tell us what Lead Pages are. So we
Yes, and we are an affiliate, so if you have an interest in it, we will put the link in the show notes. It is a landing page platform, so you could do thank you pages, sales pages, webinar pages, and they're all templated and tested. And these guys are some of the smartest, I would say, are none of the people that spoke at this event are some of the smartest marketing people in the entire world. I mean, amazing smart people at this event, and Lead Pages just is very well connected, and this is all they do.
And very well respected on top.
Yep, that's all they do. And they've now bought a couple companies that they have, and we could talk about that too, but it's more than just Lead Pages at this point, but that's like their main start of what got them to where they are. They're at about 150 employees in Minneapolis now. So they're a big, they've grown a lot and very fast. One of the fastest growing startups around, and they've had great funding and they're doing great. But this is the second event they had. The first one was very good. I mean, really, really good. And I said, I would never miss it again after last year's. But talked to Clay. He's the CEO of Lead Pages afterwards, and it beat it by far. So,
Nice.
yeah, so.
All right, so that's Lead Pages. Now let's talk about some of the stuff, and I'm sure this could go on forever.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to go into very, very specifics. Let's talk about the first person was Mark Marrone. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but it's Maron, and he is a comedian, a podcaster. And so it was interesting for me. A couple of the takeaways that I got for, the one thing you look at is when you're at these events is try to think about action steps that you can take in your business. And so for me and for us, because we use a podcast, the things that I caught here was one thing that made a tremendous difference in his downloads on iTunes was just changing the graphic.
Really?
So that was an we've never tested our graphic before. We've had the same one for as long as we've had this podcast. So it might be something to think about, changing that out to make it a little bit different. So we could get creative with changing the graphic that's on iTunes that, the little thumbnail that people see when they see the podcast.
That's interesting because you think about that from a consistency or a branding perspective, that you want people to be able to see it, recognize it, know what it is. But now you're saying, hey, you know what? Every once in a while, mix it up. You got to mix it up.
Well, and I guess pay attention to if it is making a difference or not. Because if it is, then you might want to keep it to be that one. He said they had one years ago and they kept it because it worked so well, made a big difference. So yeah, but I think you still need to stay with your brand and your colors kind of, but you could change it up in some format, but it's a little thing, it's very small. So it's something to think about.
Good to know.
He's actually interviewed Gallagher, Obama. He showed an interview with, oh my gosh, why am I zoning it? Nanu guy. Why can't I think?
Robin Williams.
Thank you. I knew you could finish that for me.
Sure.
Yep. He interviewed him, and that one was kind of spooky because they were actually talking about death. So he showed a clip of it. It was kind of crazy.
Never calling him anything other than Nanu guy.
I couldn't think of it. So anyway, it was he's interviewed a lot of people, and they have a lot of traffic. So they do their goal of their income was advertisers in the end, because they had so much traffic that he just was doing it for the heck of it. He didn't care about money. And so it was interesting to see that he's like, well, we got all these downloads, I suppose we should turn this into a business. And then they ended up it is his primary income. They do a lot of other things because of it now, but obviously that's the primary. And they charge, it was interesting because he said they charge for one advertiser for one spot $10,000 to $60,000 per spot. So there is a lot of money in the podcasting world. If I think it's the product has to match the podcast too. And that was something he talked about a lot.
How many shows a week does he do?
2. Well, I don't, his goal, that's interesting you say that. He said his commitment was 2 per week. I don't know. And that was when he was talking about how he was growing it. But he might do, I guess he never mentioned if he did more. I think it's 2 per week though.
Okay. Cool.
So that's the podcasting. So that was very good about the podcasting information.
We're going to have my buddies on from Podcast Detroit, and they run about 60 different shows, and they're probably in that $10,000 advertising space by now.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a little more. And I mean, just in their show, their IT and the D show, which is what started it off. And so we're gonna ask them nicely to give us some tips and tricks and ideas, because they just blew up. I can't even. They have a building now that's full of 4 different podcast rooms. It's that kind of deal. There's 3 shows going on at a time. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. See, I think, I think, for anybody listening that's a podcaster, and there weren't a whole lot in our audience that were podcasters but he taught about, the other thing he taught about was authenticity, and that was talked about a lot. So I'll get into that too. Can't deal with that. I like people that are fake.
Yeah. Pat Flynn was next. And if you haven't heard of Pat Flynn, I'd be shocked, to be honest. You've heard of Pat Flynn, have you?
Sure. I don't want you to be shocked.
I know. I'm like, well, you sometimes have, but Pat Flynn's everywhere. I mean, Pat has had a podcast for many, many years, and he just wrote a book, Will It Fly? And we got a signed copy of it, and that was pretty cool. So he talked about having the right message on the right platforms at the right time. Not, he talks about being everywhere, but not necessarily being everywhere.
Okay.
That makes sense?
It does.
You need to pay attention to where your audience is and then go there and be right message, right platforms, right time. The other thing that I got, go ahead.
Did he ask or did he suggest how to identify your audience and really get clear on what platforms you should be on? Because I think that's a challenge that a lot of people have. Well,
yes. And that's kind of what the next part he talked about was, writing down, talking about who you are, and then speaking of, and I'll go back to that actually, the pillar content and the email. So now we're talking about email newsletter, or I don't like to call it newsletter. I hate that term, but the email campaign that you have. And he said the first email you should have, what are you struggling with? How can I help you? That should be the first email asking a question to your audience to invoke a response.
That's great. I sent my first email campaign in 12 years on Monday.
Doesn't mean it's too late.
No, you said the first. It's too late. I can't send another first email.
No.
That's not how it works. First is done now.
But, if you have one of those, well, for me, most of mine are automated. That first email is automated. So I don't do a newsletter. I mean, I do a weekly, but if they get an email from me, typically they're signing up for something to get something, some sort of gift or, the down checklist.
Oh,
and then
right. Like that
it's an automated email, the first one.
Oh, smart.
So
very smart. Yeah.
That's, and that was talked about a lot during this. Email marketing was one of the biggest things talked about. So just asking that and then taking the emails and categorizing for content. And that's how you can kind of come up with your content, because you're getting the responses from your audience and what their needs are. Makes sense, doesn't it?
It totally does. I love it.
So that's pretty much, let's see what else Pat had to say. I have a few more things. I don't want to get into everything, but I'm just looking at if there's anything else. He said if you do a blog post, he said if you're going to write content, it's better to write one per month than one per week, if that's all you can do, if you can make it really dang good. He said, he just kept talking about making it super good. And he had a tutorial on podcasting, called a podcasting tutorial, and it was 4,000 words. We've been talking about that 1,000-word thing. It's 4,000 words. And he said he has had over 18,000 emails collected from that one. He's built his email list from that one blog post, 4,000 to 18,000 emails, because of it being so incredibly deep and so good. So that was a good tip to have in my mind, because sometimes I don't get around to my weekly that I want to do.
I think that's probably true for a lot of people, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. 4,000 words. That's like a short book.
It kind of is.
How many pages is 4,000 words? Can we relate that to anything?
Yeah, I don't know how many pages that is, but it is, an average book, I think, is 12,000 or something like that. So, I mean,
I think it's more like 30, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to open up a Word document that I've got a bunch of words in, and I'm counting them.
How funny.
You keep talking, and I'm doing that.
Yeah, so that's basically, that was some of the big points that came to me. So just make sure that it's all about consistency. And if you can't do it weekly, then, or even some people blog all the time, but he's just saying it's better to do it less often, better content. Let's see. Nerd Fitness was the next company. Nerd Fitness is a company. He was pretty cool. His name's Steve Cam. And he just talked a lot about community. They have fanatic community. It's kind of like they have the whole, how do you explain it? It's not my area, but they're kind of into the Star Wars and the whole, that kind of thing, but yet it's fitness. So it's just kind of a geeky fitness type thing.
That's funny.
It's nerd fitness, yeah. But it's major community. I mean, these people are obsessed with being a hero. Their message is on point. He said, be their Yoda. So basically, being their Yoda means being the expert that they can go to get advice, building that community, being their Yoda. So that was an interesting way to put it, but it makes sense. And finding out what their biggest struggle is. So once again, same type of thing as Pat Flynn was talking about, learning from your audience, and then listen and craft the product around your customers.
Okay, and I think that's important, right? Because if you're marketing to specific people, you better be doing something that they actually want, right? Otherwise, what's the point, right? So if you're not engaging them and giving them what they're looking for, they're going to jet. Yep. And then it's just like, I don't know.
You got it.
Not worth doing. So my polite way of saying what I was actually thinking. Oh, it's so funny. All right, so I've got a Word document that's open that is 3.5 pages long. There are 1,200 words on this. So if you're saying 1,200. If you're saying 4,000, that needs to be 3 times as many.
10 pages.
Yeah.
Well, he had some images to, that takes up some space. Well, words though. I guess images won't even count.
Yeah, you can't count pictures. That's nuts. So 10-page blog post.
But it was a very, honestly, I could probably do one on Pinterest, to be honest, but it would, do I do that or do I write a book or do I write a book? Yeah. I don't know. And it just gives us more to do. But no, it's very, very, makes a lot of sense. Next up was David Lawrence. Do you remember the show, The Price is Right? Do you remember the guy that says, come on down?
Sure.
This was him.
What?
Who spoke, yeah. So he was teaching about video marketing. He's done a lot of things. He was the puppeteer on Heroes or something too. I don't know. That was before my time, but everybody was like, were you on Heroes? So it was so it's David Lawrence, and he talked about video marketing. Once again, what was brought up, the biggest thing that was brought up was authenticity. Being yourself. So that was a biggie. And, we've always preached that too. And I think we got pretty authentic on our last show talking about our cats and bunnies. And
let's not say our cats. That makes it sound like we both have cats, and that's not accurate. You have cats. I have bunnies. I think I'd rather.
4 bunnies. Yeah, exactly.
I'm not throwing stones.
Don't catch that show. It's interesting. So, he talked about smiling. Here's for podcasting. Here's what he said. Don't yell. Lower voice. Oh, okay.
Wow, listen to you.
Lower voice.
Your voice might be lower than mine.
Smile. Don't read from a script. I'm reading today, but I have to. And aim for imperfection. Imperfection. Yep.
Or as I like to refer to it as, I am perfection. I'm not sure why, but.
There you go. I am. That's good. And talk with the audience as one. So not saying, and I've heard this many times with even email marketing. You don't want to say, hey, everyone. You want to say, hi, Terry.
Hi, you.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with, the audience.
Like Fred.
We're talking to you. We're talking to one person. So that was a big thing too. Video. Now this was interesting. He talked about bullet pointing, not scripts. So, have you noticed you winging, just do it, and I don't do scripts either, but I definitely have done bullet points, just to stay on task, especially if I'm doing it for a product launch or something bigger, something like that would be little more detailed, and then I have to make sure I get my points across. So I do bullet points. So that's okay, but not a script and reading and thinking that people don't see your eyes moving and reading the script, you know?
If we had to do scripts for this show, I wouldn't do this show. Right. I mean, if it's my turn, right, we kind of switch off who leads the show and who's bringing the content, obviously. And if it's my turn to do it, and I'm saying, hey, I'm going to give you 10 tips, I might write out the 10 tips.
That's bullet points.
I know that I hit the 10.
Yeah.
And I'll do that, that night before and go, oh crap, I got to send this out. But yeah, otherwise, no. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but there's no bullet pointing for guests when we have guests on. It's just listen, pay attention to what's going on, and ask the question that moves the conversation along, right? That's what we should be doing.
Exactly. Well, and we're doing this via video, yes. But I mean, he's even talking about, if we're just doing looking at the camera type video, that's not, this type of recording, and which we're working a lot on right now. So it was kind of interesting, I mean, I'm not doing bullet point type videos at this point, but I know when I do this new product launch, I will be doing a bunch of more deeper videos. Yeah. And then he had a home-based posture where you hold your hands in front of you and you kind of hold this one finger just to down, like, level with your belly. He said that's just because a lot of people don't know what to do with their hands and their arms when they're standing there. So that was interesting. Don't be square to the camera. Left shoulder towards the camera. Do not be square towards the camra.
Oh yeah, I look sexier that way.
I'm
doing it right now. It's
exactly.
I think I lost like 5 pounds.
Exactly. I know. It's very true.
The added bonus.
Don't be square with the camera. Don't let the lights throw you. Look at the back of the camera. Don't look actually at the lens itself. Look behind towards the back. He called it the backbone plane of the camera. And allow it to be live and not edited. That was one thing. I'm like, after I listened to this, I just said, I just did 4 videos last week. I feel like I need to redo them all. I'm probably square.
Right? You're all like this. Hands are flying around like
and he said it's very important to look off camera sometimes. Don't just stare. It makes you more authentic if you look off the camera once in a while.
I like that.
Very important too.
Which I couldn't if I'm talking for longer than 12 seconds. I have to because squirrel.
Sure. Well, that's true, and I do tend to look around when I'm thinking and talking sometimes too. So it's something that a lot of people, though, when you get to creating that video, you're just staring at the camera, going, "I can't look away." He's saying, "Look away," and then. Be interested. He said, you'll be interesting if you're interested in what you're talking about, which makes sense. So that's, I don't know if I should give these things away, but I guess if you text 44222 on camera, you can get all these tips.
Ooh, nice. Yeah. Well, I'm sure he'd be happy that you did.
So it's on camera, on camera, to 44222. And that's a lead pages digit.
Ah, very nice.
We should probably be doing that too. Anyway, so next one. You know what? I want to talk about Meet Edgar. This is one that actually we used yesterday for one of my clients, which was very interesting. It was so timely because I was editing how we're going to bring people to sign up for his email newsletter. And I don't like the word newsletter. So I'm like, remove the word newsletter. I'm always lecturing all my clients. Like, nobody wants to sign up for your newsletter. They just don't.
You don't?
You don't call it a newsletter. That's the thing. You got to make it about community or, an exclusivity, blah, blah, blah. Well, we talked about, this is Meet Edgar. She started the company, Laura Rotor started Meet Edgar, and she actually kind of used to do what I did, but she started a software. Meet Edgar is, I don't know if you've heard of it. If nobody has, it's a social media platform for posting to your social media, and you can get content and all that stuff. I don't use it, so I don't know enough about it, but I have heard good things about it. I use plenty of other ones at this point.
It's a ringing endorsement from you.
I know. Now, I know a couple people that keep saying to me, have you looked at that? Have you looked at it? And you know what? I haven't at this point, but it could be great. And, you know, it might be something to look into. So Meet Edgar is the company, and Laura Rotor talked about pre-launch. But here's what hit me yesterday, and we loved it. Request an invite. Instead of just saying, here, you can have my product. Put in your email to have my product. No, you get your invitation. Have you noticed that? Blue Jeans right now, that company, you have to request an invite or you have to have an invitation. When Canva pre-launched, they had you had to get an invitation. And we were all like, did you get one? How'd you get one? Can you give us yours? You know what I mean? So it was an interesting
Google Wave, right?
Yeah.
Think about going to the bar, going to the club. People want to go to the club where there's a line out the door.
Yep.
They don't want to go to the one that you could just walk right in. Anytime you can put a red velvet rope up to allow people to get whatever you're giving, they want it more because it's got some level of exclusivity.
Yep.
Red velvet rope.
You got it. And that's what she does. So even till this day, that's what they have on their front page of the website. Now, the other thing that really stood out to me that we need to do, and I already discussed this with you, is she gets the most conversion from her homepage. So she said, if there's no way to convert them to something on your homepage, you're missing the boat. And collecting emails from your homepage is an absolute must. So, failing.
Colossally. Yeah, ginormous.
So, yeah, look at your website. And if you don't, I do have a conversion piece further down on my front homepage of my website, but it's a very small button way down.
Got to be above the fold. Very easy to see. Terry F. Bean telling you what to do, even though he doesn't do it himself.
So that was one I will be taking action on for both this show and for my other website.
For Janet F. Johnson.
Yeah, exactly. We're moving to F's now. I don't want to spend too much time, but those were the biggest things that I had gotten from. And then the last thing is it was very interesting to me. They have very specific things that they do to grow their business. And she knew exactly what she did not do. It was very interesting. Like, they do not put on their own webinars. The things that they do are they do blogging, email campaigns, and guests on podcasts, but she does not have her own podcast. That's something they don't want to do, but they're guests on. She's a guest on 10 to 20 podcasts per month. So it's very interesting strategy. They've chosen what not to do. She felt like she'd be too tied down to certain things with raising a family if she did the other things, So it's interesting. Very, very interesting to look at with your business. Where are you spending your time? She said, make a spreadsheet. Maybe it's something we should do. It's where your time spent, the sustainability, the market strategy, what you like, your personal preferences, and what the results will be.
Yeah, I can totally appreciate that because I think that becomes something that a lot of people don't recognize, don't even understand. In fact, I was doing a coaching session with somebody yesterday, and that was the first thing I said is you got to write out a list of all the things you're doing, because once you do, you'll realize what you're not doing, right? What you shouldn't be doing, what you need to be doing a lot more of, what you need to start doing, what you need to stop doing, right?
Yeah.
Stop, more, less. What do I need to start doing? What do I need to stop doing? What I need to do more of? What I need to do less of?
What's that end goal? I mean, that's kind of the thing. Work your way backwards from that end goal.
That's it.
We're recreating our strategy right now just to figure out, where are we going to go? How can we work our way backwards to it? So,
that's for sure.
Love a lot of key points out of her talk. Amanda Holmes She was, if you've heard of Chet Holmes, he died recently, and that was her father, and she inherited his business. She just talked about, doing things that you're really good at and repeating them over and over, because repetition is the mother of all skills.
Ah, yes.
Like our podcast, we get better and better at it as we have repeated and done over and over and over.
We keep telling ourselves that.
Well, you're getting better with the E's, I guess. Let's put it that way. You're going to run out of them soon, but
I'm going to get a dictionary before the end of the year. We'll be fine.
So she also talked about, content offers the problem to solutions, trying to get to the 97%. You're only really getting to the 3% of your marketplace. She talked about, it's this one's a little hard to explain here. So just talking about that side of thing, how to get to the other 97%. Let's see, what else did she have? She had adding a coach. She mentioned that can increase your productivity by 88%.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, that is big. And then, they had I'm just looking at if there's anything else here. You couldn't pay attention. There are a few key tips, but it just isn't making a lot of sense to me. But if you want that gift, it's chetholmes.com/gift. So she had a special gift. And Chet Holmes did write a really good book that a lot of people in the audience raised their hand that they had read. And I heard people talking about it, but I don't know that. So you could find out more if you go to chetholmes.com/gift. But she was fantastic. And I believe she was in my Inc. magazine article like recently. I got to go look at my Inc. magazine because I feel like I saw that whole story because her father died recently of cancer.
Oh, that stinks.
Inherited that company, and she had never done anything like it before. So it was kind of, a different way. This was the biggest talk. This one, Andrew Warner is his name. This talk was what everybody talked about the entire weekend. So what he talked about was messaging apps, bots. And if anybody's heard about bots, I hadn't really heard much about it, but this is the wave of the future in marketing. So taking your messaging from email marketing to the Facebook Messenger and other messenger platforms, but this is starting with Facebook Messenger. So it's very interesting. We're going to be testing it. I should have set one up before we had this talk so that people could have signed up for ours, but
well, we have time, right? Because we'll release it.
Yeah, that's true. So we could we'll put it in the show notes where we'll offer something. We'll offer our social media guide for 2017 predictions. And we will give that away to anybody that decides to do this. And then we'll alert them of the shows. And it's really cool. It is called, if you want to test it, it is called ManyChat. And what it does is it simplifies your message. It doesn't have to be this long email anymore. It's a very to the point, very, think about how we met, we message each other with GIFs. In Facebook Messenger, it's a whole different speak versus your whole major email. And that's kind of what he's talking about. That's the way the world is moving. If you want to see examples of it, Fandango's using it. You can purchase right through Facebook Messenger. Wish is using it, flowers.com or 800 Flowers, I believe it is. And then he was doing a giveaway, mixergy.com/converted. If you go there and sign up for it, you will see how it works. So that was the biggest talk of the entire. Here's my take on it. I think it's fantastic, and the people that are marketers and the people that do it in the beginning are going to win. But eventually, the people that are real people, normal, non-marketers, the marketers, we ruin everything. I mean, I'll be honest, we ruin it all. And that's what's going to end up happening. We're going to ruin it for everybody else, and down the road, it won't work. But you know what? For now, my 18-year-old, that's the only way he doesn't open his emails. So we got to look at how are we going to get to that next generation? And this is one of the ways. And the price point, I was telling Terry, it's only $10 per month up to 500 people. And this is direct. So think about if you're doing a webinar and you have people sign up through this, and then you're going on that webinar and you want them to join you, and you can message them right on Facebook, hey, don't forget to join us. How many more show-ups will you have? Many.
Many. That's a statistically significant number.
Exactly.
Many.
So I think it's something
That's twice
worth
as many.
testing, but I'm testing it quickly because I do think it could get to be like email marketing down the road where people are just going to be scared to put their name in. Hit go.
That makes sense. All right. So this sounds like it was a fantastic show.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. Trying to think if there's anything else that we want to get into deeper. I'm thinking that we should put this into 2 shows and just have 1 blog post, but 2 shows, and she can split that up because there's so much content.
Okay.
The landing pages were talked about. So if you want to find out about landing pages from Brian Massey, I won't even get into it. But you can go to conversionsciences.com/blog and you can learn about it, or converseci.com/landing pages. Oh, sorry, landing page checklists.
Ooh, landing page checklist. Fancy.
Yes.
So
that one would be a good one. Yes. Oh, I would totally. That one is one I definitely want to do. They broke down to webinars. The other thing that I got out of this is that webinars are you really need, I don't embrace webinars at this point and probably should. It's something in 2017 that I think I'm going to build a whole strategy around webinars. Yeah, it definitely is how the majority of people on stage grew their business was webinars. And it makes sense that live, that, being there type thing, it really still works. I think that getting the show up ratio isn't as good as it used to be, but I do think it's that was something that was talked about in depth. And Clay Collins did a speech about 28 steps of a webinar. So I'm not going to get into that, obviously.
Well, let's talk about landing pages. Let's talk about webinars. Let's talk about, I don't think you even talked about Derek Halpern at all, other than in the beginning.
That was the second day, yeah.
So let's do that. And, because at some point people are going to be like, hey, this show's longer than most. So this is our big tease, our big hook. We're going to do it again. Come back. Listen. There'll be a part 2.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, no, there was so much. I mean, hopefully... The thing is, what I just talked about, hopefully there were a few key points that kind of turned the light bulb on for you guys. For you. There you go.
For you. Not all of you or every one of you.
Exactly. See there.
Just you. It's like Fred, remember? Didn't we have Fred?
Yes,
we have Fred.
We don't have Fred. We should have an e-name.
Yeah, we need everyone. Oh, wait, no, not that.
No, not everyone.
I'm going to go with Ernie. Because Ernie, why would it not be?
Sesame Street? Or...
Now you're thinking about them, and they're kind of orange-faced like Donald Trump. It's almost perfect. Just Ernie. Hi, Ernie. And it's just so cute. It's like the sweetest little name, Ernie.
That's pretty good. Our Ernie community. Oh, I forgot the puppet again.
All right, so how can Ernie find us if they want to connect with us? When Ernie wants to connect, where do they go?
Well, the best place for our community is businessgrowthtime.xyz. I always have to think about that one. .xyz. And then you can find all our past episodes on businessgrowthtime.com/podcast. Then where else? iTunes, of course. So if you just hit /iTunes on Business Growth Time 2, that will take you right there. So we have a lot of places. YouTube also is the other place that if you like to watch or just want to scroll through, we have a lot of our episodes there too.
And Janet and I are actually creating individual individual videos and uploading those to the YouTube channel. So they're going to be a little deeper dive, real short segments, 2 minutes, 3 minutes tops, that are going to help you with very specific tips. So there's going to be a lot of cool stuff going on, and I'm looking forward to continuing this. I think you delivered a ton of great information, a lot of value, and I was excited about how much fun and how much good info you got. So it's nice that you were able to kind of recap that, because not only does it help our Ernie, right? Not our audience, but just Ernie. It helps Ernie, but it's going to help you kind of re-cement what happened, right? You're creating new neural paths, and it's going to allow you to be like, wow, what do I need to start? What do I need to stop? What do I need to do more of?
Yeah.
What do I need to do less of? So good stuff. We're out of here. We are done. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And let us know about the Ernie thing, because that's just going to not stop unless you say stop.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.